Riri Williams was a genius.
No.
Wrong.
That
Might be a hero in there after all.
is
Wrong.
Thing is, I just need to borrow it.
I knew it. No, 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 no.
Just to test it. I'll be careful.
This is all black market tech that I've heavily modified and can be traced back to me.
I'll be careful.
They don't know what the they're doing. Do you understand that?
So if you're here, you either watched all 6 episodes of Ironheart or you're hoping that I save you the trouble. Either way, this is your spoiler review, full breakdown of the dumb decisions, missed threads, abandoned plots, and a demonically disappointing reveal. So first, if you've not seen my review of episodes 1 to 3, we will do a quick recap of who Riri is, who's who, what's what. But if you've already seen that, feel free to skip ahead to the next section. Now, Riri originally showed up creating a biblical war between Wakanda and Namor. The reason for that being she created a vibranium detector. Everyone wanted to kill her. Wakanda wanted to protect her. Now, upon returning home, she gets kicked out of MIT for plagiarism. She was selling completed projects to other students. She then steals her suit on the way out with 0 consequences from MIT, SHIELD, FBI. That's never addressed again. She gets back home and then immediately joins Parker Robbins after being recruited by cousin John for some acceptable criminal activity to fund her suit upgrades. She accidentally builds an AI version of Natalie, her murdered best friend, and there's hints that Natalie at some point potentially involved in police brutality. Maybe that's what killed her. She freezes when a guard pulls a gun on her despite her being corporeal. Nothing can touch her. This plot thread's never addressed again, and we just find out that the ambulance was a minute late, which ties into Riri's original aim to create better tech for first responders to reach those in need faster. But that's although it's an altruistic motive, it's very, heroic. That's never addressed again after episode 1 either. We get to heist number 1 and Riri helps them get a contract signed. Natalie ends up freezing. Parker saves Riri by shooting the guard. We get to heist number 2. Riri has to borrow a skin graft tech from a black arms dealer that she was working with called Joe. We find out that he's actually Ezekiel Stane, Obadiah Stane's son. While on this job, of course, Riri drops the skin mesh, which is left at the crime scene. And Joe told us earlier on that he's heavily modified it and it would be able to be traced back to him somehow. That's not really expanded upon, just if it's left, he'll be arrested.
You're gonna make me arrested.
Riri also unintentionally during this heist kills cousin John by leaving him in a greenhouse which gets flooded with carbon dioxide. Parker then breaks down and we see his demonic cloak come to life and shadow over him as an image of Riri's suit, sort of hinting towards this demonic entity telling him what actually happened, and Riri is having a panic attack. Now, we're up to the recent episodes. Episode 4, Riri's still having a panic attack about what is going on, and she's concerned about her family and her loved one's safety. So she gives a few of them watches that trigger a shield, which is one of the projects she sold originally in episode 1. But when her mum's watching TV and it hears gunshots, it triggers the bubble, and her mum is stuck on the bed with this bubble on her. Now, that causes her mum to then drag her to her friend's shop who deals with things like crystals and healing energy and all this stuff. Now, it's a sweet shop they go to because her friend owns that. Riri, in the previous episode, the reason that she went to the heist was actually to cut off a piece of Parker's hood to analyze it before she tries to leave the gang. And the reason she wanted to leave the gang is the previous tech specialist, Stuart, ended up dead. She doesn't want to end up the same. So when she's in here and conveniently brings the cloak with her, also conveniently, the mother's best friend is a sorcerer, or ex-sorcerer, and her daughter, who we're just going to call Witch Velma, because her name's Zelma. She's got big glasses. I know Velma is black now, so yeah, Witch Velma. And her mum reveals everything about being a sorcerer, camouflage, and all the big things that you think should be kept secret. She just comes out with them. And then they transport Riri and her mum to another dimension to analyze the hood fabric. Riri and her mum take this very well, and it's just another Tuesday, I guess. Now, after doing the magic reading, Velma's mum tells Riri that this is from one of the darkest dimensions, known or unknown, and to go away, pretty much. Now, meanwhile, while this is all happening, Ezekiel Joe Stane is arrested. Riri finds out when she tries to get in touch with him. She goes to visit him. He tells her to bolt and leave. And again, I don't understand how he got arrested and put in jail this quickly. how he couldn't have argued that someone stole it. In previous episodes, he's wiped his fingerprints off of things. There's bound to be no evidence that it's his except the fact that he's just said it can be traced to him, which is again just a convenience to further the plot along to make him into a villain, I feel like, which isn't very good writing, in my opinion. So at Parker's lair, Riri hears that he's now recruiting a new tech specialist because Riri clearly needed help on the last job as she used someone else's tech. This obviously triggers alarm bells and ramps up her plans to try and figure out how to destroy or combat the hood. She tries various means, none of them work to damage it at all, and she realizes she needs to use magic. Now cue us going back to Parker, and he's breaking Ezekiel, the new tech specialist, out of prison, and he decides to give himself a bunch of bionic upgrades, shaves his head, and now his skin and everything else is essentially a full-blown suit, except his balls, but we'll get to his balls later. Now in the next episode, it opens with Riri eating lunch with Witch Velma to find out about magic and how she can damage the hood. Velma theorizes that it's a 50% chance, something like that it's from Dormammu's dimension. While they're talking, they then get ambushed by Hammerhead and Cruella. I can't remember their names, Blood something. These two can beat up guards, like fully grown men, but this little girl they stumble across, who's just running around the kitchen throwing stuff at them. She makes them look like clowns and gets them stuck in a shield. Speaking of clowns, Clown shows up, tries to blow Riri up, and this reminds me a bit of Iron Man 3 where Tony takes down a full house with stuff he bought from Home Depot. Riri jerry-rigs a air compressor cannon and knocks Clown out, and then runs. Now while she's running away, Dennis Rodman, who's stolen Riri's suit while she was in this shop, tries to run her down. Now as he's coming towards her, the suit is activated by Natalie, the AI, and saves Riri, and she smashes the truck, causing Rodman to flee the scene. But thankfully Rodman is a world-class defender and sets up a slam dunk by Ezekiel, who just full beast mode rips Riri's suit off and tells her to leave Chicago and takes her helmet to Parker to lie that she's dead. And Clown backs up this lie and also confronts Parker about Stuart's death because they've found out from Riri when they ambushed her. Parker gets very mad at this and fires everyone in the gang and decides to do the next heist alone, kind of. When Ezekiel goes home to gather his stuff and leave Chicago, he goes back to an emasculated mess that he's been before, just getting triggered by a Karen, and just, it's a bit pathetic. Anyway, Parker shows up and tells him that he's going to help him with the last heist. He refuses, but then Parker reveals that he's now got controls within Ezekiel's mind, and it's through voice commands. So they rush this mansion, which is shown in a previous flashback where Cousin John helped save Parker from a guard. So it's the same mansion that he's assaulting that he's failed to before, and he gets in, and lo and behold, the person that owns the mansion is Parker's dad. So it's daddy issues. That's the big thing, right? So the dad abandoned him when he was young because his mum died and he didn't want him. He specifically says that.
Very sad. Anyway.
Now, he gets him to sign over the controlling interest in a company called Artworks. I thought there was going to be some sort of demonic link with these contracts and the CEOs were signing away part of their soul, but no. It's literally just Parker getting controlling interest in companies to make money, and that is it. There's no fancy reason at all. That's all. While this is happening, Riri again recruits Witch Velma and pretty much everyone else. Her mum brings out her stepdad's old car and they use that to build a suit. Now this suit looks pretty good, right? I'm not going to deny that. But they build it in a day using a car and a garage with no fancy tools. And if you compare this to the MIT suit that she's arguably spent months on with an advanced lab, advanced tools, other people to bounce off of that are highly intelligent versus one she built in a garage in a day. Convenience. Anyway, but with this suit, Riri has a battery problem and she asks Witch Velma to charge it with a perpetual magic source from another dimension. No one stops to question this. No one thinks to challenge her on it. Not Xavier, not her mum, no one. So boom, Riri gets infinite power at the cost of Natalie, the AI, being deleted. Now, Riri's traumatized again for losing her best friend again, but this time it is essentially her fault. Now we get to the last episode. It opens up with a flashback of Kid Parker being saved by Cousin John. He runs away. A dark figure emerges in a tunnel that he's trapped in, as there's guards on either side. This figure, as we know, is Mephisto, who's like the devil of the MCU. Opens up the portal to the pizza place, which is Parker's current hideout, and what follows is a verbal contract where Mephisto promises to give Parker the means to achieve his dreams and leaves him with the hood. Parker allegedly gives up his soul for this, but that's not explicitly stated. The reason I say that is in the past, Mephisto's bargained other things besides souls for his contracts. Now, who is Mephisto and what does this mean? If you've not read any comics or anything else, Mephisto is a demon who controls a hell dimension, and there's several of these. He feeds on souls, and his power level is very high. He may be in the MCU somewhat linked to religion though, because if you've not watched Thor Love and Thunder or Moon Knight, which if you've not, fair enough, then you might not know essentially all religions and their afterlives are real, and this was confirmed in Moon Knight, and we see loads of gods in Love and Thunder. So Mephisto in the comics is just a demon, but in the MCU they might have changed that. So anyway, Riri, thinking Parker's hood will help get AI Natalie back, goes to Parker, confronts Ezekiel here, who's been commanded to stop anyone coming up, obviously, and she kicks him in the balls. I said we'd get to his balls later, and the reason for that is to reset his brain, essentially, because it's the only part that doesn't have any bionic upgrades. And that works, and they go their separate ways, and she goes upstairs. That is the end of that plot line in that fight. We also never see the gang again, by the way. So Ezekiel leaves here, the gang left in the previous episode. We don't see them again at all. That's never addressed again. So Demon Parker fights Riri, nearly kills her, you think, but it turns out to be a hologram, similar to Mysterio, and she gets the hood. It's a pretty underwhelming fight, that's that, really. She goes downstairs, and Mephisto is now there waiting on Riri. He offers her anything her heart desires, and she says what she wants can't be given, which is essentially her friend back, or stepdad. Sorry, John, I think that's your name, just Natalie. She pauses, and I mean, if you're on a bad decision streak, you know, why stop now? Riri is a genius, by the way. She shakes his hand, and we skip forward a few months or something, and Natalie appears in flesh form. So before, you couldn't touch her, bullets couldn't hit her, anything like that, and she pushes Riri away, and Riri then hugs her, and we see a black vein creeping up Riri's arm. So she's now branded and likely will slowly transform into a demon unless she manages to break the contract with Mephisto, which is likely to be the cliche of him not honouring his side of the agreement somehow, and Riri will lose Natalie again. Hat trick.
Very sad. Anyway.
Now, post-credits, there's a scene. Parker, the Hood, now no longer the Hood, enters Velma's shop asking for supreme magic assistance. Great wordplay there, amazing. I had no idea who they're talking about here. Anyway, this scene feels like it's set up for a different show, something that hasn't been foreshadowed or hinted at. It's kind of a bit of a jarring ending, in my opinion. There was no hints towards this at all, and Parker just conveniently knows that this is a witch shop. Anyway, that is the episodes. So where do we stand now, and what's going to happen going forward? Riri's a genius who didn't save anyone, got a guy killed, sold their soul, and I mean, we could go on. We love flawed protagonists, but Marvel maybe take it easy on the flaws next time. Parker's crime origin was daddy issues and devil bargains, all for money and power. Pretty simplistic and rather underwhelming. They could have utilised the contracts and CEOs a bit. Zeke's potential was wasted and ended up as a glorified puppet and still remained an emasculated mess. Mephisto is confirmed, but not really seen except in a spoon. What happened to the online leak footage that we've all seen, where Parker met him in his realm, it seemed? I wanted to see that, and it looks like since we got 2 pizza discussion scenes, that one of these was that scene, or there was another scene that had just got cut, which is unfortunate because the look of Mephisto here is really, really cool, but instead we get a spoon. Magic tech fusion has now been delivered. We will likely see more of this in Doomsday, because Doom is going to be the main catalyst for magic and tech infusion, and that'll be coming next year. Will there be a season 2? I don't think so. There's too much bandwagon hate to combat, and I actually rate this show. I think it's a solid 6 out of 10, maybe a 5.5. It's entertaining, but the start hate from Riri, all the genius comments when she's making consistently dumb decisions, and all the conveniences and silly writing. I can understand why it might not get a season 2. There's going to be a lot of people tearing this apart, but if you don't try to overanalyze it too much, it's a pretty entertaining show. Episodes 4 to 5 are also way too fast paced. Actually, I could say the same for 6, really. Episode 1 to 3, we get a slow build up, understand who the crew is and what's going on, and I quite enjoyed that. Episodes 4 to 6 were just too much happening at once. I think it could have done with an additional episode just to have better pacing. But anyway, that's that. If you like this video, please like the video, subscribe, comment if you'd sign away your soul for something, and what would that be for? Let me know below. For me, it would probably sound like superpowers, because I'm a massive geek. Anyway, cheerio.
They don't know what the you're doing. Do you understand that?